All right, ladies and gentlemen, at long last, my special guest today, John Gallagher of Raven!
Hello, hello, hello.
That's the opening track off the new album, which came out September 18th. It is available on Amazon and other places you get music, but buy the physical copy because you don't want to miss Metal City and all the wonderful, beautiful artwork resembling a comic book, a graphic novel series, perhaps maybe in the works, which would be a lovely thing. John, thanks so much for coming on the Purple Kurt podcast. Appreciate it.
You are welcome, sir. It's good to be here.
And for those who do not know, John's birthday, as we're videoing this, was yesterday. And happy belated birthday, John. I got to tell you happy birthday yesterday, but happy birthday once again. And
it's wonderful to be 21 all over again. And all over again.
21 in 2020. Oh, listen.
Yeah.
He revealed his age without saying it, folks.
A distant memory.
Listen. You're still, and may I say, you still sound like you're 21 and still play like you're 21.
I try my best, you know.
Well, and folks, his secret weapon, if you don't mind me asking, one of your secret weapons besides God-given talents is sponsored by Yorkshire.
Oh, yes. Indeed. That will put hairs on your chest for sure.
And but it doesn't put hair on your vocal folds.
No, not at all. It polishes them wonderfully.
To a fine gleam. So, John, it's been a hell of a year, to the grossest understatement that anybody would ever say. But somehow, somewhere, a glimmer of hope happened when September 18th happened and you put this thing out. What?
Yeah, it's been quite a process, but finally, it's wonderful to have the aforementioned article out into the marketplace and getting people's reactions, which has been amazing. Are you kidding me? Hang on a minute. We do.
No, we're good. You're good. Gotcha.
But I'm running short of battery, so we need to play games. Hang on a minute.
Okay, that's all right.
It's always something.
Oh,
it's
listen.
Never nothing, but it's always something.
Technology is great when it works. Can we tell the good folks where we're talking to you from? Oh, he's hanging on. He's taking second with his iPhone. Yeah, you just need to unmute. I think I can unmute you.
Can you hear
there
me?
you go. I can hear you loud and clear, my friend. Yes, sir.
Boy, we're unhindered by technology. I'm grabbing a battery. Hang on.
No, you're good. So John's brand new album, along with the guys in Raven, is Metal City. Just came out this last month. Hasn't even been out for an entire month. And I have to say, it is... If you loved Raven's first three albums, and everybody always says this, but if you loved them, you're going to love this even more. I think it's probably the finest album you guys have put out. I'm just going to say it right
I think so. I mean, it's just a culmination of a lot of years' work since coming back from Mark's accident back in 2001. It took the well-named Walk Through Fire, which is what it took to get to that point.
Also
put the flag down, boom, we're here. And, moved the goalposts forward for extermination. And then we, to keep making stupid lines here, we took the bar and threw it over the building.
There was no
this
line.
Album here. We really did. It's, it's just got... It ticks all the boxes that we wanted. We wanted an album that wasn't too long, 10 songs, so you can get your head around it. We wanted the best songs we had, and we had a lot of songs. We'd written a lot of songs, so we were able to basically pre-sequence and go, what would be a great opener? Where would we go from there? How would we run this, So we were able to do that and pretty much knew which songs it was going to do. I mean, initially when we first started recording, I think Mike did drums for maybe 12 or 13, but we only recorded, vocals, bass and guitars on 11 of them. we
Oh,
knew those were the songs we wanted. Yeah.
and again, you had your latest drummer, none other than Mike Heller. Mike Heller was well known in Fear Factory, and he is just. What can you say about Mike Heller that hasn't already been said? He's just a force majeure.
Yeah, it's
I
force
mean,
of nature. I mean, his technique is frightening, but it's musical. You
oh,
know, there's a
absolutely.
lot of very fast technical drummers, and it's you know, it's you know the drummers or the guitar, the way guitar players were in the early '80s. It was, you know, the fastest gun. That
Yeah,
seems to be what's happening these days with it. But Mike's got the technique and he's got the smarts, and he's played sessions on a lot of different kinds of material.
and
I mean, he was doing sessions on country music.
he also had a
So
Brazilian music as well, right? Or Latin music.
yeah, I mean,
I mean, he's
so
all over the place.
that's all. You know, it's great to have that kind of broad outlook and to be able to pull ideas and info from different places. You know, rather than I listen to Slayer exclusively, because then you're just going to sound like Slayer or you're going to sound like whoever. You know,
Yeah,
you've got to, if you're a musician, you got to stretch out there and look at other stuff and maybe bring it in and try and make it your
sure.
own, you know?
You're the drummer in your longest tenure, of course, the Baron Joe Hasselvander, who had to leave the band due to health problems. And salute to him, because he was with you guys from Nothing Exceeds Like Success after Rob Hunter, Wacko Hunter, had left to support his family and to start a new family. He had just had a baby on the way back in '87
Yeah.
after Life's a Bitch and the Mad EP. And then you had Joe come in, and all the drummers that you've ever had, their background wasn't strictly just rock and roll, this, that, and everything. They all had a sense of swing, had a sense of the different rhythms, and a sense of following, not just being robotic and trying to be technically perfect. You have to have that sense of push and pull. And
Yeah. And a band is really only as good as its drummer. You know, you've got to have a good drummer. You really do.
yeah,
And I mean, Joe was playing, you know, he went out on the road with the Platters when he was like 9 or 10 year old.
he was in the
Yeah.
Platters.
Yes.
Okay.
And, you know, they wanted to take him out properly on tour. And his mother was like, no, he's too young. He's going back to school. Sorry.
Yeah.
But, you know, so
And his father was musical as well.
Joe had
Yeah.
grounding and all kinds of, you know, crazy stuff as well.
But his
Which,
father, yeah. His father was a musical theater teacher, wasn't in high school or something to that degree, and I think he helped his dad.
I'm not sure. His mother was a teacher. I know that
Got it.
for many
Okay.
years.
But I knew he said something when you introduced me to him way back in Baltimore in 2014, right before Extermination had come out. You did a club gig in Baltimore at the Metro Gallery on Charles Street, and where that crazy diner that's no longer there was.
Oh yeah, that's gone. What a shame.
Oh
The
yeah,
sci-fi
yeah.
place.
The Lost City Diner, I think it was called,
Right.
and it had kind of a sci-fi UFO 50s theme to it. And he had talked a little bit about his musical theater backgrounds, but the point I'm trying to make is that all these drummers, including Mike, have all these disparate elements that they'll bring into your music that you and Mark came up with, and it doesn't sound like anybody else's drumming. Mark's playing doesn't sound like anybody else's playing, and your bass playing and your singing doesn't sound like anybody else. And you've pulled yourself from all these elements, progressive rock. Can you name some of your earliest influences on, say, bass and vocals when you started out in Newcastle?
Yeah, I mean, when we were kids, our whole thing was the bands you'd saw on Top of the Pops and would hear on BBC Radio 1,
Sure.
which was Slade,
Yep.
Sweet, Status Quo,
Oh,
Mark Bolan and T-Rex, you know, even up to Gary Glitter and Mud and all that stuff. It was great pop music with a hard edge. It had a lot of guitar in it. And from
Yep.
For older people we knew and all that, it was like, you got to check out Black Sabbath. Oh, you know, and a friend would bring a Black Sabbath record over and we'll be like, oh my God, what's this? And other bands we knew of, like Deep Purple, had hit singles. So we knew Black Knight and Strange Kind of Woman and stuff like that. And then Led Zeppelin. You know, my father had borrowed a Led Zeppelin album from a guy at work, and he didn't particularly like it, but when he went out, we'd put it on and go, ooh, what's this? And check out that stuff. So we were voracious, and every band pretty much that came to Newcastle, we would go and see. And it's the City Hall, 2,000 seat capacity. So you weren't in the nosebleeds with telescopes, you were up front, and that was our education. Watching Status Quo and Budgie and Wishbone Ash and Richie Blackmore's Rainbow and, you know, just about everybody. The only bands I never saw were Queen and Thin Lizzy somehow.
I know.
And I missed that, but there you go.
Keeping things in the Philadelphia metro area, where I'm at, one of the best Thin Lizzy, the Live and Dangerous album, recorded at the Trocadero, where you've also played it, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolute classic, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and the Glow album, back in '94, you covered The Rocker, right?
Oh yeah, well, that was the first single Mark ever bought.
I was going to ask about the first record you guys ever bought. It was a Thin Lizzy record?
That was, the Rocker was the first single Mark ever bought. I didn't really buy any singles, but I think the first album I bought was Slayed Alive. Oh,
God. Noddy Holder and those guys, I tell you.
It's still one of the best live records you'll ever hear. It held up after 10 billion listens, you know.
That's one you go back to often. That's one you go back to listen to often. Okay,
absolutely.
Cool.
And you hear that, and it's raucous, it's loud and raw. It's got incredible vocals, lead and backing. Jimmy Lee on bass was just a huge influence, because even on there, it's a filthy, dirty bass tone. He's sliding, he's getting feedback, he's bending notes, and it all works, you know. And that was the bass players back then, especially when it may not have been noticeable to many people, but it stuck out to me. Andy Fraser from Free, just
with a
he
little
did all right
known,
now. He was like 16.
It's
like
sickening.
Unbelievable talent.
And Paul Rogers, of course, we all know later on went to Bad Company after Free, was maybe not even a year older than him.
No, they were all
16,
kids.
17.
All kids.
Oh, John, and you were so lucky to have all those musical influences. But then by the time you get to this little ditty, oh yeah, this would be the first time people would be able to buy your record. All right, so when Don't Need Your Money came out, we're talking the punk movement had already been firmly had its grappling hooks in the musical scene, right? And even bands like Led Zeppelin, who were influenced by the punk movement with their later tracks that were supposed to be released on an official album or an EP, like Wearing and Tearing.
Wearing and Tearing, yeah.
Was a response to the punk movement. You guys come on the scene with your brand of heavy rock, and you called it at the time athletic rock, speed metal would be an apt term. I mean, you basically are thrash, the beginnings of thrash metal. What anybody else says, I don't know what your opinion of it is, but you guys really started the whole thing, what would later become thrash. I mean, you're the godfather.
Well, we took elements from lots of different bands over the 5 years of nearly 6 years, whatever, that we formed before that. And when we were playing other people's songs, it would be, we wouldn't be playing Maybe I'm a Leo by Deep Purple. It would be Highway Star. And if we're playing Montrose, it wouldn't be Rock Candy. It would be Space Station Number 5. So we gravitated to all the faster stuff.
Sure.
And that went in, the high energy thing. because that's what we enjoyed. That's what we got off on. And when we turned into a three-piece in late '79, when we got
Right.
Rob Hunter in the band,
Yep.
that's when things really amped up in that direction big time, because it was the first time any of the three of us had played in a three-piece band, and all of a sudden we had all this freedom and space, and it just gave us free rein to basically go nuts.
I mean, but you people put you in that new wave of British heavy metal label, which is apt, but you really were your own brand. To me, I get it. You're lumped into that label, but you really are your own animal at that point. Because
the thing is, I think that there's always arguments about this, but at least my take is the new wave of British heavy metal is an era. It's not a genre. It really isn't. Because especially all those early bands, I mean, what did you have? You had Iron Maiden, you had Samson, Angel Witch, Diamond Head, you had Raven, you had White Spirit, you had Fist, you had Venom, blah, 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 blah. They were all different.
Yep.
They all had their own thing going.
Maybe
the only
even
thing
the first,
they had in common was they came out at what apparently was the same time, when, of course, most of the bands had been slogging away for years beforehand. Yep. And they all had passion and they all had energy. Therefore, that's, and the guy from Sounds magazine in London, Jeff Barton, coined the term, the new wave of British heavy metal, and we were all off and running,
He was the British Alan Freed, who in Cleveland, Ohio, who had declared of rock and roll. He coined that phrase rock and roll on a news station in the Cleveland, Ohio, and you had your rock critic over there coming up with this term.
Yeah.
And I would even throw maybe even the first Def Leppard, early Def Leppard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They were
because they were just as influenced by.
They decry that. Absolutely, I saw them play. I think Rick Allen was 16.
Oh God!
And a phenomenal drummer right then.
Yeah, Saxon as well. You're good mates there in Saxon. Biff and the boys. Still.
We saw them play the Mayfair when they were called Son of a Bitch.
Oh God!
Yeah,
brilliant.
And they were playing the first album. But yeah, we saw that, and then like 6 months later they changed their name and all the rest of it.
Was Frozen Rainbow in there at some point too?
Oh yes.
Oh Christ.
Oh
wow.
Yeah. And we got to see them play in the sound check on the tour we did with them 2 years ago. They didn't play it in the show, but they played it in the sound check. Phenomenal.
Great. Yeah.
Great
got
stuff.
to see him a couple times in Baltimore and opening for Judas Priest on the Firepower tour, along with Lizzie alum in Black Star Riders, which
great bill, definitely.
Enough. Getting to see Scott Gorham play was a thrill. So back to your band for a second. You've had these twists and turns in the business, and getting this record out wasn't an easy feat for probably a myriad of reasons that, but the fact that you got it out, and the fact that this long history that you've had of adversity and overcoming adversity just speaks to your band's tenacity. You and Mark, all the different obstacles, car accident, his legs getting crushed in an accident in 2001, not long after 9/11 happened. And somehow you guys just got stronger and stronger and heavier and heavier. It's just what do you attribute your drive, and what is the main thing that keeps you going?
We're stubborn Geordie bastards. It's just, it's in our makeup not to give up and just to keep going, and it's especially the longer you go on, because you can say, things are tough right now, but you look back and go like, well, it's more than improbable that we got this far. So what do we got to lose to keep going?
You've only been at it
for us.
Yeah.
For us, for a couple of kids from Newcastle back then, to put out a record was a huge deal. It was a huge deal. It means nothing now, but back then, to physically hold a 7-inch single with your name on it, that was huge. And to go to Europe, to go to America, I didn't know anyone that had been to America back then. We were it, you know.
Speaking of going to America, you
what's that?
Speaking of going to America, the shirt I have up here, the reproduction of the first tour that Metallica, American Bay Area, of course, you know, we all know Metallica, you know, today, but they were your opening act for their first American tour. That wasn't was that your first American tour as well?
Yeah.
Proper,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Yeah.
We'd been over and played a few dates in 82.
Played a few clubs, right, yeah.
But we didn't do an actual full-blown tour until 83, yeah.
Right. You played in Brooklyn, New York when you first interviewed, right?
We played the Halloween Headbangers Ball in Staten Island with Anvil and Riot. And then we played a couple of gigs by ourselves and a couple of gigs with Anvil. So we played, the Brooklyn Zoo in Brooklyn.
Probably an apt name back then, too.
Jeez, what a place.
Count the number of cigarette butts and beer spills on the floor.
Places like Nanuet, New York, and Dover, New Jersey. I can't remember. We're all over the shop.
You recorded in Dover, New Jersey for the Glow album.
Yes,
going back to that.
It was the same venue, and we were like, wow, this is the show place. This is weird. This used to be a gig. And the guy goes, well, it still is a club. And we're in the studio, which is really nice, all woods and panels.
Yeah.
He says, follow me, and we go to a closet. You open it up, and it's like the tape store and tools and odds and ends. And there's another big door, and you open it, and you walk out, and you're in the strip club.
Did anybody have their dollar bills ready for
it
that?
Was like, hey guys, what do you think of this? Where are they? Oh no, they're in there again, aren't they?
Oh man,
that was entertaining. Say, hey, you want to come and hear the mix?
You know, instead of motorheading, which is on your new album, you could have done motorboating. There you go.
Motorboating. It's you know, you don't get more rock and roll than that. So that was pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Oh Jesus! So, when the pandemic hit, switching back to 2020, what was the last gig you guys did?
We did the Monsters of Rock cruise.
Oh yeah.
So we played the pre-party, which was at a race course in Miami.
Miami. Okay.
And then we played on the boat wherever out in sea. We played a show there at.
And some rock cruises have been a thing for you. 70,000 tons of metal.
Yeah, we did the first 70,000 tons. I think we've done 70,000. Oh boy, 4 times maybe at this point. One of the few bands that's done it that many. And we've done Monsters twice. And they're both slightly different from each other. On one of them, where the more melodic, lighter one, the 70,000, and on Monsters, where the on the heavier end of things, the way it works out. But they're both great, and it's an awful lot of fun to, you know, for a punter to go there. I mean, you know, if you don't want to watch your band, you walk around the corner, and it's as if it doesn't exist. It's cool. You would never have got me on a cruise in a million years before going on one of these, and these are great. And of course, for us, it's like, yeah, it's a little vacation break, and we get to play too. So, and I'll do bass clinics on there, and we do interviews and all kinds of nonsense. So it's a lot of fun. It's good.
Yeah, and you get fed.
You get fed. We get to meet a lot of cool bands, and see a lot of cool bands, and hang out with the fans. But it's a win-win-win all the way down.
Well, hopefully we can return to that, you know, soon. And would, you know, love to see you guys. If you've never seen Raven live, if you've never had the privilege, I've had the privilege a couple of times. Last time was when you played in Allentown, PA in September of 2017. And Mike had just been drumming for you guys, I think maybe less than a month.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
I think we did. We'd done a couple of festivals, and then we did that US run of about 30 odd dates, I think it was. Yeah.
And then I think you ended down in South Florida, something like that. But when you went back over to Europe, for this, you somehow were able to get a live album out. And this
Yes,
was the
indeed.
first time that Screaming Murder, Death from Above, live in Aylburg, if I'm saying that correctly. And that's the first time that Mike would appear on a Raven record. And what a great way to appear on a live record. First live record you'd done in a while. And he just kicks ass and takes names.
That just was, it's just one of those things that came together. We were having delays with doing the record. We'd had an abortive initial recording session where we had to take our toys and leave and go elsewhere. And we're like, this is getting delayed. Why don't we put out something live? So we had the album in the can, but we needed it mixed, and we were still fighting, trying to find the right artist for the artwork. So maybe we can put out an EP. I don't know. And Mike said, well, I've got a few shows that people have given me that were recorded 24 track. Let me look. I've never really listened to them. And a guy had given him a memory stick at this gig when we were opening for Udo in Aalborg, Denmark.
Udo Dirk Schneider, legendary.
I recorded the show. Yeah, you go. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, great. So he puts it on and he calls you and goes, you've got to hear this. This thing's like phenomenal. It's like the other couple I've got, there's like no mic on the guitar or the snare drum's off or whatever, but it's all on here.
It sounds as though you planned and prepared for it. It was the crazy thing because you did a little bit. There was a little bit of mixing and tweaking. I think you had like 5 seconds of just a slight overdub because you had broken a bass string or something.
Broken a bass string on Hell Patrol. Yeah, and of course with having the mic, I just kept singing and just walked over, changed basses, and then plugged in and kept going. So we fixed that.
Yeah.
And that was really it. We edited down between a couple of songs just to fit it all down just for continuity. But
I tell you,
what you hear is what the set was from start to finish. It's there.
If you want it, folks, if you want to know, and this podcast reaches people who don't necessarily listen to heavy metal, John, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because music is a diverse, wonderful, creative outlet, and you just can't listen to one type of music or else you'll never evolve as a human, and or look at one type of art and just dismiss it. Oh, that's rubbish. Even though maybe some of today's music might not be your favorite or my favorite, I'll still listen to it and try to get something out of it. But if you want to know where Raven is, folks, in 2020, the only 2 albums you really need to listen to in the moment, Raven, are this album and this album that just came out, because it's just, when you asked me to listen to this, hey, let me know what you think. The first word that came to my mind when I hear Mike's drumming and you're playing, you're just kicking ass, was propulsive. He's not rushing the beat, but he definitely keeps that beat forward at all times. He's in front of the beat. 9 times out of 10, he's just edging you guys to keep going forward. And you had a 40-minute album. That's what your intention was, but you didn't need much help with Mike because he keeps you guys moving at this breakneck pace. And by the time you get to the last track, When Worlds Collide, you're like, whew, I had to take a breath. In fact, I told you I'm a runner. I went for a run. I hadn't run an under 10-minute mile in 2 years since my knee surgery. Thanks to you and the new album, I was able to run an under 10-minute mile, my last 4-mile run I did. I was like, son of a bitch, these guys, what an inspiration.
We got you fired up. That's good.
Listen, and listen, if that was your intention, you certainly, at this end of the mic and the camera, certainly reached it. The power just, if we could talk a minute more about the album, you have a lot of songs that, to my ears, sounds like akin to what Judas Priest did with British Steel. They came out of the gate, and technology was a theme in the album. You've got Cybertron. You've got these songs, Battle Scarred, You're Never Giving Up. The first track that you had out in the different streaming formats, Top of the Mountain. The themes in that are, Never Giving Up. They had those themes in their albums and collective catalog. But it's tremendous. It's tremendous. The production on this is just amazing. You brought back to engineer and mix a little bit the only Michael Wagner. You want to talk about a little bit of having him come back into the fold?
Well, after we'd had that abortive recording session, we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And Mike Heller had said, well, I'm moving to LA, but I'm going to build a studio there. I'm like, okay, cool, because he had a studio in his house in New York, which is where he did the drum tracks.
Okay.
So we're like, okay, well, he's going there. It'll be a few months, and we'll do it there. And then we did the Monsters of Rock cruise, and Michael Wagner was on the cruise. So we're talking to say, hey, Mike, how would you be interested in mixing our new record when we get it recorded? Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely into that.
Fantastic.
So we made a deal for that. Everything was cool. And then I get a call from Michael Wagner in, March, maybe, of 2018, saying, when are you going to have the record recorded? I'm like, he's still building the studio. It might not be for a few months. He goes, I have to go into hospital for a major procedure.
Oof.
In about a month. It'd be great if we could have it recorded beforehand and I can get it mixed and it's all done. I'm like, well, I don't know about that. He says, well, why don't you just come to my studio?
In Nashville, correct?
In Nashville.
Right. Okay.
So we're like, okay. So 2 days later, we were in Nashville.
Wow.
We loaded up that heap of shit we called a truck and we drove to Beverly.
Wow.
We drove to Nashville and we spent 2 weeks there with Michael, and it was, the old gang were back together. It was awesome. He's the guy for sounds, and he's always on the edge of technology. He's a Kemper nut. For the people who don't know, the Kemper's this, it's an amplifier that takes like a DNA snapshot of any amplifier you hook it up to.
It's amazing.
And that way you can either manipulate that, or at least you've got it set, and it's the full signal chain with the speakers and everything.
It's
so,
unreal.
If somebody's cat comes in the studio and kicks a mic over, or if someone drunk falls into everything, it doesn't matter because it's all, you've got it captured in the box.
Digital modeling.
Mark brought his preamp down. We sampled that and got that all in there.
Wow.
We got bass sounds in like 5 minutes, and so that was awesome. And that just, it was just so much faster than this usual play guitar. And they have these robot things with a microphone. They'll move them incrementally. Does that sound better, or does this? And it's this whole stupid process. Doing it with this was just so quick. It was crazy.
Plug and play.
Yeah, and I mean
it's incredible.
That's definitely the cool end of technology, where it's a tool and you're using it rather than it's using you.
And you were able to get a bass tone in no time. You recorded the album. It didn't take you long once you got everything together with Mike. And then you, of course, I want to mention Zeus, right? Yep. Who's also a part of the record. He's got a resume of working with Hatebreed, Rob Zombie, all these different bands. So you had a combination of working with Michael, who's got a long tenure with you guys, and this newer guy to help mix and the record. It took you how long? 6 days, something along those lines for the new record?
We were up there for the best part of 2 weeks.
Wow.
We kicked around sounds. We did the guitars took a while. We weren't throwing it down. We wanted to get it right.
Sure.
I mean, I demoed the stuff at home 1,000 times, so I had it in my DNA. It had some of the songs had Mark had to figure out his own angle on a few of them.
Sure.
And you always leave, you know, a good 30% for improvisation and just seeing what
Absolutely. Sure.
happens. You got to. So, I mean, the solos are all off the cuff, whatever he comes up with at the time. And, you know, they've got these great little melodic parts, which are cool. And they're crazy, of course.
Of course.
And even, like I said, I demoed them many times, but there's certain bass lines in there I came up with right on the spur of the moment. Just like, oh, let's try this. Let's go for it. I'm in a good place. Let's fly, see what happens. And the vocals, I had vocal patterns down. We had them written out. I tried stuff, but between, you know, Mike and Michael particularly, and Mark was in there too, cheerleading. And, you know, try this. No, you can do better. Try this. And, you know, we ended up, you know, they got great performances out of me on the vocals.
To be sure.
We just knew we had it. We knew we had it from the songs, but having them recorded like that was like, yeah. And we did the mix, and it was like, this isn't what it should be. It should be more than this. So we decided to form it out with a bunch of people for like an audition. You know, here's a track, show me what you got. And a couple of guys were good, but Zeus did a killer job, and we just handed it over to him and went backwards and forwards a little bit. But it's really, you know, like the way the songs are and everything else, it's got that, you know, dragged kicking and screaming out of 1982 energy, craziness, and aggression.
Unbelievable.
And it's got a modern edge to the production and the sound.
Absolutely.
Without it sounding, you know, like a lot of rock stuff does these days, where it's over compressed and, you know, the loudness wars and no dynamics. So it's literally the best of both. And we were incredibly happy when we got to hear that. And, you know,
it is incredible.
Here's what appears to be the final mix, and cranked it out in the car, and we're just like, yeah, we got it, man. We got it.
The best place to listen to your stuff is in the car when you want to listen to finished product. And I can tell you, you know, if you're looking for an album that doesn't sound like it's pro-tooled, overdubbed to death, auto-tuned, you would never in a million years hear John, you would never hear in a million years you auto-tuning anything vocally, because you don't need it. You don't.
No, I mean, we don't do that. It's
never been your way.
You know, and a lot of the vocal performances, what you're hearing is like 70, 80% first take. And, you know, like tweak this, or basically that's a good take, but this part here, you can do something different. Let's up the ante here. And which is, you know, it just means you're tuned in, and you know, I was giving my best. It came out good. I'm very happy with it.
Oh, well,
and we have some insane harmony stuff on there. This some of the highest voices I've ever sung. If you hear the backing vocals in Battle Scarred, it's out there.
Yeah, but you know, since 1980-81, you've had those vocals and you haven't lost them. There are so many bands that have been around as long as you have that may have had off years, and then maybe they got their vocals back or never got their vocals back. And you're in that rarefied air, if I may say. You're in this I don't even know if there's a 1 percentile, but you certainly are in it. Whatever category you want to put yourself in, it's a rarefied air, John, and it's an incredible pleasure to get to talk to you finally and see you. So with that, is there any chance that we're going to see a virtual version of Raven playing, or anything that doesn't really work?
No,
that doesn't really work.
The only virtual things obviously I've been doing my bass noodle thing on Facebook every day for the last, I don't know, 170, I think it is at this point.
Right.
I think I started around about tail end of March.
Yes, you did.
Every day I've done something different, which has been a challenge, and it's been fun. And it's kind of complements and outside the band. It's just me playing bass usually. So,
And
and
for
just
those, yeah,
what can I come up with next?
right.
From as we were joking, from show tunes to Hendrix to improv to me playing on my lap with a bottleneck or whatever.
Do you happen to have a guitar handy? Do you happen to have a guitar handy? So John's Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen, while he's grabbing a git fiddle, is his Facebook page, John Gallagher Raven. If you go to his Facebook page, every day John has posted what he calls his bass noodles. And those of us who are on your Facebook page have listened to it, has said, okay, John, so when you're done with Metal City, when's the Bass Noodle solo album coming out? Because it's incredible.
Well, it could certainly be a thing. There's a lot of the improv stuff. I mean, it's like, that's not improv, but a lot of them, it's just like, I just plug in and like, let's hit record and see what happens. And I'll come up with, like,
all right, baby.
Which was on bass, but I mean, on bass it sounds better than on this.
Well, that's okay, but here's the thing. John doesn't just play a 4-string bass, ladies and gentlemen. You've got an 8-string bass, you play the guitar, you play keyboards as well.
Really badly.
Hey, hold on a second.
That's something I'm working on. I'm toying with the idea of actually getting a keyboard and getting a little more serious about it. Why not? It all just, will I be playing it in the band? I severely doubt it. I mean, I've played keyboards. I've even played violin on one record.
You did.
But I recorded it at home to spare everyone else the pain of having to hear it.
Is that the one off the One for All album?
No, I play violin on the beginning, the intro of Walk Through Fire.
Oh, well, yes.
There's a couple of violins just right, the crescendo before it comes in.
So you hear, for those of you who didn't know, John plays violin as well. Now, did you take that in elementary school, primary school, I guess you'd call it?
No. I've
figured it out.
I've bought violins. I've tried it. I think the most violin playing I did is I bought a violin and just used the bow on my bass way back in the mid-70s. I had a clear Perspex bass, you could see through it.
Right.
The Dan Armstrong, and with a bow and the fuzz wah pedal and all that craziness.
Oh, man. Jimmy Page on steroids.
Totally. So it's just from the get-go, it was like, I'm not going to just stand and go bum, 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 bum. It's like, what can you bring to the party here,
You definitely aren't just the rhythm element. Of course you are, but you have always, your approach to playing the bass has always been like a guitarist. You are a guitarist. You're not just, like you said, 1, 4, 5, 7.
Well, the bass serves many roles. It locks in with the drums. It also locks in with the guitar, but it locks in melodically, and you can, a great example back in the day would be The Who, where almost Pete Townsend was playing bass and John Entwistle was playing lead, and they would switch over, and it'd be like a tapestry. It would link. They weren't playing the same things, but when you put it together, you get more than the sum of its parts.
Brilliant.
And that's very prevalent on this new album. I mean,
and that's a brilliant connection.
They're definitely written that way.
So John Entwistle of The Who, you mentioning The Who, I would imagine is in your lexicon of the Mount Rushmore of bassists. Chris Squire.
Chris Squire, groundbreaking, brilliant musician, incredible choice of notes.
Oh my goodness. What about more recent bass players like, say, Victor Wooten?
Victor Wooten's an incredible player. I'm not a guy for the slap and tickle
type
of deal.
Like Larry Graham.
No, he's outstanding. Absolutely, he's a magician. You know, and that's the great thing about music.
Oh, yeah.
There's always somebody worse than you, and there's always somebody better than you.
Hey.
So you can never get caught up into that. But what you can do is you can be a better player today than you were yesterday. And you can aspire to be a better player tomorrow than you were today. And that's, I learned that very early on. And you think, oh my God, I could never play like that. This is, well, maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can just be the best version of you, So when I taught, I would always tell people that too. It's just like, as long as you're moving forward, it's all good. It's all good, and you listen to these people and be inspired by them, and I'd listen to other musicians and be inspired. Eddie Van Halen, who were all
yes.
upset about losing.
What
an incredible
wearing my shirt today
role model in every
Absolutely.
sense, with his always reaching forward, experimenting, trying new stuff, seeing what he could get out of the instrument different, whether it was the two-handed or the chordal patterns, or I always loved his little description of it's little guitars, the intro to little guitars on Diver Down, where he's playing classical and he's trying to do the tremolo, which would be on a classical guy playing with the fingers and then playing the pattern with the thumb. And he cheated. He has the guitar and he's going.
Brilliant.
He's just hammering on. I'm doing it terrible. Hammering on with a hand and faking it out. And faking it out brilliantly. And that summed up his whole approach. It's like, I can't do that, but I'll figure something out.
and that was a perfect example, John, of him saying, oh, I could never do that. But he did do it. He just had to do it his own way.
No, absolutely.
And Eddie is, I always tell people who don't, and Van Halen and all the people we've lost these last several weeks, 2020 has been an unusually cruel year in so many ways.
My brother was just telling me that. He had a list of the people who've died in the music industry specifically, and it was just horrifying this year. It's really, really bad. Yeah.
Frankie Banali of Quiet Riot. Lee Kerslake, the original Blizzard of Oz lineup, and Uriah Heep. Early days of Uriah Heep, and you opened. Was he not in the original?
I saw Uriah Heep many times, and Lee was just power personified, and what a great singer as well. I mean, they had such amazing vocals.
Yes, and really was the secret sauce for those two first Ozzy Osbourne albums, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. He just was the secret sauce for those.
Yeah, and a very unique player, very, very much who had his own style.
Oh.
But there's so many people. Paul Chapman from UFO, Pete Way from UFO.
Oh, Pete Way.
All our heroes, It's just awful.
Well, you're still here, John, and
Thank God for that.
And you need to wrap yourself in bubble wrap right this second. Damn it. We can't lose any more freaking geniuses of music. We can't afford to lose you. We can't afford to lose anybody.
Because there are chicks out there for the taking. And I aim to give me a few. Man, those chicks don't know what they're missing. They got a lot of living to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, so are we going to be hearing lounge versions when you get to the 70s? Are we going to hear Tyrant of the Airways?
The funny thing is, you laugh. You could break down, and you can do this with a lot of heavy stuff, actually, especially some of the Van Halen. There's a distinct lineage somewhere in there from big band.
And what's his face there? Pat Boone in A Metal Mood. Remember that big band down? He did Van Halen's Jump.
Yeah.
And Alice Cooper and all this stuff, and brought that vaudevillian, big band,
Oh, yeah. Stairway to Heaven as a waltz.
Oh, Lord.
Remember that? You ever heard
Oh.
There's a lady you shoot on the glitters is gold and she buys.
Jesus.
Oh, no.
Oh,
The
my.
horror. The horror.
The horror.
No, I mean, that without even taking the mick, there is like a big band thing about some of these songs, the way they're put together. I mean, you could imagine Hot for Teacher.
Oh,
come on, that's like 40s big band. And
Dance the Night Away is a samba. I think David Roth had pointed out with Joe Rogan, because if they would play in different parts of California, if they were in the more Hispanic neighborhoods, they had to have something that had that Latin beat. They were clever that way because they weren't just strictly rock and roll. Again, we'll go back to talking about bands bringing disparate elements into rock and roll. And they brought in all kinds of influences because California, again, melting pot of music.
It's a real melting pot. So, they're playing bars and clubs and they want to, play to the audience. But you always try to bring stuff in. I mean, I remember when we did Stay Hard and we had this instrumental called The Bottom Line, and we were just taking the mic and pretending to, stupid little things like that. And the engineer said, "Hey, I know a horn section. Do you want to give this a shot?" We're like, "Yeah, bring it on. Why not? What's the worst that could happen?" And it was genius. It came out great,
It's like heavy metal Herb Alpert. There you go.
Yeah, well, everyone grew up with whipped cream and
other
delights in the house. I mean, that was de rigueur, definitely, right?
Hey, wait a minute, Mr. Herb Alpert of A&M Records. I mean, that guy had more hits than than a social media influencer on YouTube today.
Very, very true.
Absolutely. Well, John, it's been lovely having you on, and many blessings to you, Mark, and to Mike, and to you and yours. Thank you so much for coming on here. And any final words about where we can find you, where we can get you on the social medias, all that kind of stuff?
Well, I'm on the Facebooks as the John Gallagher Raven, official Raven. It's the Facebook Raven page. We are on official Raven on Twitter. Official Raven Band, I believe it is, on Instagram and all that. And the new record is out, Metal City. We are threatening to finish up another video for it shortly.
Watch the title track video. Yeah, and watch the title track video on YouTube.
Title track, and there's a video for Top of the Mountain as well.
Yep.
And live dates in Europe in February, all things being equal, and we will follow the rest of the world as soon as this the situation that shall not be named is over.
the Voldemort of all Voldemorts. Yes,
that's it.
It should not be named.
But we really feel that for a band that's been around as long as we have, like 46 years, to come out with what I feel is our best album, that's a throwing down of the gauntlet. And I would just suggest check it out, and you will be pleasantly surprised. This is not some bunch of old geezers' last gasp at trying to do something by any stretch. This is vicious,
absolutely,
in a good way.
And you know what, John? It's not so easy to put a great record out like this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it again. John Gallagher of Raven! All right, thanks a lot, John.
Cheers, man.
Till next time, folks, stay tuned for the next guest on Purple Kurt Podcasts. All right. John, thank you.
That was fun.
Oh, it was. I didn't go too far off the rails, but...
we have to wander here and there. It makes it fun.
God, my God, it's just so much fun music geeking out with you, because you know so damn much, and I learn every day. I always told my students in elementary school, you never stop learning. I forgot to mention Todd Rundgren and all this other stuff.
I know, and Prince. I found out recently, and I never knew this, and you probably did, that Purple Rain was actually a live track.
With string overdubs by Wendy Melvoin's friends. Actually, Susan Rogers had contracted Novi Novog and would be on the Around the World in the Day album later on. That's okay. We don't need to talk about Prince because it was
No,
all
no, no.
about
But I just heard that recently. I was like, wow.
Well,
And,
there's a great book.
I'm sure he maybe, this the stuff that was overdubbed, but that one note, that's an iconic guitar note. It's up there with Hendrix's Machine Gun when he starts the solo and he does that bend. That's just,
Yep.
it
And
doesn't get any better than that,
there's a great book that Dwayne Tudall, T-U-D, put out about the Purple Rain years. John, he had the director, Albert Magnoli of Purple Rain. He had over 150 songs finished for the movie, including for the time, including for which, Morris Day and all them had pretty much left the band. Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis were fired, went on to do their own shit. But he had songs that he wasn't sure were going to get on Sheila E.'s record. Erotic City was recorded after he had gone to see George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic. He recorded that the very next day. When Doves Cry was recorded when Albert Magnoli came to him and said, hey, you know what? I need a Rocky montage song. Something that kind of sums up the conflict of here, there, and everywhere in the movie. The very next day, he had When Doves Cry all recorded. He practically lived in Sunset Sound Studios out there in LA. I mean, he had a 3-month residency at any given time. He already had 3 albums worth of material ready to go after Purple Rain. Around the World in the Day was already finished. And then the string overdubs that he had and some other shit for the song The Ladder. Everybody's looking. He had used those strings for another track. I mean, the Sign of the Times, I could geek out, but you probably got to. The Sign of the Times box set that just came out.
Right.
They only have 63 unreleased tracks on there out of the probably 300 that he had ready to go.
Wow.
I don't know how.
Crazy.
But he didn't have a life. His life was eating, breathing, sleeping,
he lived
shitting,
in the
kissing,
studio. Yeah,
in the studio all day.
They'd have engineers on coming in shifts.
Susan
he would
Rogers,
burn through them.
right?
He never slept.
No, and the one person that stuck with him the longest, Susan Rogers, who recorded all that classic stuff from 1999, except for 1999, A Little Red Corvette. She was the engineer on those, but pretty much everything from there until after Sign of the Times. She left after the Black Album and the Love Sexy album. But her interviews, there's a podcast on the Current in Minneapolis, which is a great, Andrea Swenson's kind of Minnesota Public Radio.
Right.
And they've had an 8-part miniseries, which they're still getting through. And it's just the amount of time and effort, solo, all the instruments, with few overdubs, very few, on top of him. And then I look at Todd Rundgren and how he approached his stuff, because I was basically given a homework assignment. Ever being a teacher on the other end there, John, and I'm like looking at this stuff and I'm going, he was like a one-man Queen. To me, Utopia stuff is like very Queen, a little more operatic-like, and proggy, and then he'd go here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, proggy, and then all of a sudden it's Gilbert and Sullivan. You heard Magic Dragon Theatre, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. It's brilliant. It's so silly, but it's brilliant. It's
like if Brian Wilson and Gilbert and Sullivan and I don't know, throw in another name there. Bowie he had so many different elements.
Yeah, they were just like, this works, let's go here, let's do this. Why not? Let's do this.
But he played everything. It's just, I can't even, oh gosh. So how's the guitar building going with
I'm about to start routing today. I'm going to go take this outside into the boiling heat because I don't want to make a mess in here and start routing out the neck. I've got this ready to go.
What's that?
We got this yesterday, which I've covered with tape because the edges need to be
Oh, the
filed
paint
down.
tape.
They're rough.
Yeah.
And this is a weird headstock, which you can cut to your own shape. And Mark's got that guitar that had the chain on. It has a very specific, weird, almost lightning bolt. We're going to put that on there.